When you're out for a walk, have you ever really looked down? I mean, really looked? Because there are all these incredible stories hidden right there, right beneath our feet. A simple walk can turn into this amazing adventure, a real-life detective story if you just know what you're looking for. So let's do this. Let's learn how to read the wild world of bird footprints together. And that's exactly what they are, right? These aren't just random marks in the mud or the snow. They are a secret language. They're these tiny messages that tell us about the hidden lives of birds, who they are, what they were up to, where they were headed. It's like getting a little glimpse into a world we almost never get to see. All right, so let's get into it, starting with this secret in the mud. Think of this whole thing as your official training to become a nature detective. We're about to learn how to find and decode these hidden messages, and I promise it's going to transform your next walk into a full-blown investigation. Now, every good detective knows that location is absolutely everything. You can't analyze the evidence until you find it, right? So our very first step is figuring out exactly where to look for these clues and what makes a bird track, well, a bird track. So, where are the best spots? Well, the best crime scenes for clear evidence are almost always near water. Think about the soft mud and sand along rivers, ponds, or the coast. It's just perfect for preserving prints. Or right after a fresh rain, when the ground in parks and gardens get soft. And of course, a fresh blanket of snow? Oh, that's like a pristine canvas where every single track just pops. You can even spot them in piles of fallen leaves if you look closely. Okay, here's our first big clue. Most of the bird tracks you're going to find have this classic shape. Now, it has a fancy name, Annie's a dactyl, but don't worry about that. All it means is 3 toes point forward and 1 toe points back. That's it. This super simple arrangement creates that iconic bird footprint we all recognize, and it's the starting point for pretty much all of our investigations. And here's something that can tell you a ton right away: size. Size alone is a massive clue. On one hand, you might find these tiny, super delicate tracks of a sparrow in your garden. And on the other, you could find the large, beautiful, really distinct prints of a crane out in a wetland. Just by looking at the size, you can start to narrow down your list of suspects in a huge way. Okay, so we've found our tracks. Now for the really fun part, decoding the evidence. Let's get into how to actually read these clues to figure out not just who made them, but what story they have to tell. Every good detective needs a method, and ours is super simple. It really just boils down to 3 key things. First, we'll look at the shape of the individual print. Then, we get a sense of its overall size. And finally, we zoom out a bit to see the arrangement, the pattern of all the tracks together. Shape, size, arrangement. Just remember those 3 things. The shape of the foot tells you so much about a bird's lifestyle. It's amazing. If you see sharp, powerful-looking toes, you might be looking at a bird of prey. See wide-spaced toes, maybe with little hints of webbing between them? That's a classic sign of waterfowl, like a duck or a goose. And what about those long, delicate, skinny prints? You're probably on the trail of a wading bird, like a sandpiper. Now let's talk about the arrangement. This tells you how the bird moves. Are the tracks right next to each other, in little pairs? That's a hopper, like a sparrow. But if you see a really clear left-right alternating pattern, well, that's a walker, like a pigeon or a crow. That one little detail tells you so much about how that bird behaves when it's on the ground. All right, we've got a suspect, but the story doesn't stop there. By zooming out and looking at the patterns over a larger area, we can start to figure out what the bird was actually doing. We're moving beyond just identifying the bird to interpreting its whole story for the day. So if you see a trail of tracks that moves in a straight, really even line, the story is pretty simple. That bird was on a mission. It was just moving from point A to point B, simply passing through. But what if the tracks are all over the place? Messy, overlapping. Maybe they're going in circles or suddenly changing direction. That's not a bird on a mission. That's a bird on the hunt. This kind of pattern is a huge clue that it was foraging, searching around for a meal. And this is the smoking gun. If you see those messy tracks and then you spot little marks next to them where the mud has been dug up or disturbed, you found the end of that part of the story. The bird wasn't just looking for food, it found some. That's the proof of a successful meal right there. The time of year adds a whole other layer to the story. In the spring, you might find the tracks of a migrating bird just resting on its long journey. In the summer, you could see dozens of tracks all around a nest, a sure sign of busy parents. Autumn brings this flurry of activity as birds get ready to leave, and winter tracks often crowd around the few food sources that are left. So, there you have it. You have the skills now. You know where to look,
what to look for, and how to start reading the stories in the ground. It is absolutely your turn to be the detective. Your adventure is just about to begin.
And you really don't need a bunch of fancy equipment. A small stick to clear away some leaves is helpful. A magnifying glass can be fun, but it's not essential. Honestly, your most important tools are way simpler than that. Patience and a really healthy dose of curiosity. That's the real key to all of this.
And you know the best part? You don't have to go on some huge expedition into the wilderness. These hidden stories are literally everywhere. They are waiting for you in your local park, along the nearest stream, and yep, maybe even in your own backyard. Nature's secret messages are all around us. Because when you get right down to it, every footprint is so much more than just a clue. It's evidence. It's evidence of a life being lived, a story that connects us just a little more deeply to the natural world. It's a reminder of this incredible, bustling world of nature that's happening all around us, all the time. So next time you're out for a walk, just look down. The ground beneath your feet is like a library of stories just waiting to be read. The only question is, the next footprint you find, what story is it going to tell?